Alright, well, I figured today's as good a day as any to get the baler ready to go. Really don't have anything to do to it for the most part other than clean it up and grease it and put twine in it and run it and make sure there's no funny sounds. Because I pretty much just used it and put it away last time. I did have some issues with it, but I think it was... Don't think it was issues with the baler. I'm pretty sure it was issues with the junk ass twine, but I'll explain that later in the video. Come on. I really need to haul some fuel over this thing because I don't know how accurate that new sending unit is I put in it, but it's pretty low. This thing needs a bath too. I haven't been worried about it too much since I don't know what's going to happen with the wheat ground, if I was going to have to run a finisher over it or not, so I figure get wheat cutting and this thing will be on the list to get washed. Normally I let it run and charge the battery, but with the fuel being that low, I'm not going to do that. Hopefully I get hooked onto this thing without having to move the combine. I didn't realize it was that close. Oh, I think we're going to be just fine. Set my hitches too high. using this jack. A little damn funny when it comes to getting it in a neutral position. It's gonna be kind of fun getting that back in there. You gotta hit that hole just right. Anyway, I'm gonna shut the barn back up and we'll catch you at the house. Well, actually the first order of business was to clean the toolbox out because a damn mouse decided that was a good spot to make a nest. So all the mouse piss rusted the wrenches I had in there, and they tore some holes in some bags, and I had one bag, there was one old cloth bag of parts in there. They ate the whole bag. All I found was the parts. So anyway, the next order of business is to blow this thing off and get it not covered in crap. And get rid of this mouse nest, because you know that doesn't need to be in there. There's nothing smells worse than mouse piss. Like I'll take cow manure, hog manure, I'll even take chicken manure. Mouse piss, no, they're just nah. Just nasty. I'm thinking I got you out in time to just see another Oliver drive right past that intersection. We'll see how good I am. Yep. That's the guy down the road here. They used to do a lot of drag racing, and their family always farmed with Olivers. Well, apparently they decided that drag racing wasn't fun anymore, and a couple years ago they sold all their drag cars and started buying tractors. So that was their 1855. They got a whole bunch of them now. I think in the last 2-3 years, however long it's been, they went from having nothing to probably 15 or 20 of them. But anyway, got all this blown off, got it all greased, checked the oil in the gearbox. It was like a half a quart low, so I dumped some 80-90 in it. The first time I used this thing years ago when I got it, I actually changed the oil in that gearbox. So, and the way you do that on these is there's your fill plug with the breather, and then you pull. Can't really. That bolt right there is the through bolt. You pull that bolt, and that's your level plug. It's supposed to be a 3/4 reservoir. And then also on these balers, they got 3 Zerks that are, if you don't think about them being there, you'd miss them. They got one for your quill support bearing on your main input shaft. They got one right there. for your cross shaft, which drives your pickup and all your accessory over there. And then there's a second one for that shaft right there, which also, it's all covered in grease so you can't tell, but it's also got a little mini chain coupler right there. And then that bevel gear drives the shaft that goes out the front that drives your stuffer arm. So you got those three zerks to be aware of when you're greasing this, because if you don't know they're there, you don't even think about them. And while I was greasing this thing, well, actually while I was pulling the stuff out of the toolbox, I remembered that there was this idler arm in here and this spring that I assumed always went with it, but I never really thought about. I figured it was just a spare or something Max had around. And while I was greasing it, I noticed that conspicuous looking bushing right there with nothing in it. So, you know, I got curious and I came and pulled the old shop manual out. That's where that arm's supposed to be. If you can, it's right there, and then there's a hook down below for the spring. And there's the spring and there's the arm. Why it's off, I don't know. I don't know. I've never had any issue. I've bailed a lot of bales with that baler, and I've never had any issues, because that's the pickup drive. And I've never had any issues with it. So, I don't know. But I'm going to put that back on. And this whole manual here, this is worth talking about on its own. I've still got the envelope Max kept it in, Max's baler book. And you can tell a baler is just one of those pieces of equipment that the manual just tends to be out a lot. I wish I knew. I wish I knew. 1963 is the first date there. 6/23, 60 something. I wish I could read some of that stuff, because I want to know what he was writing down. But 1963 is definitely the first date there. And it seems like it's wrote down in here somewhere when he bought the baler. Maybe it's not in here. So I'm pretty sure, if I remember the story right, he bought that baler in 61. And they sold the cows and quit making hay in 64. And he just kept the baler because every once in a while they'd bale straw or do some custom work with it. But for all intents and purposes, that baler's only got 4 full seasons on it of actual production haymaking. But yeah, I really should get a different manual for it so that I don't have to use this one and make it any worse. But it's just something to think about when you got a manual like that, is you're touching something that has been used a lot down through the years. Probably opened with a lot of 4-letter words preceding it because, you know, baler things. But it could be worse. It could be an IH baler, because if you find anybody that has anything good to say about an IH baler from a model 46 on up, let me know. Because it seems like IH is just universally known as the shittiest baler ever made. Sorry, IH guys. It's a thing. Most IH guys will even admit it. It's like, yeah, they're fucking garbage balers. But anyway, I'm going to get that guy put on and go from there. I have no idea why he'd had that off. It's everything. I don't know. I can't explain it. And the only guy that could tell the story passed away 4 years ago now, I think. 4 or 5 years ago now, I think, is when Max passed away. So that story's lost to time. But anyway, next thing on the agenda is the twine. These are actually brand new balls I put in here, but they're also 3 or 4 years old now, so I don't trust them. But this is Brazilian gold, I think is what it is. 9,000. I think, or maybe it's that Cosebra. I could have swore it was Brazilian gold. But anyway, last time I used this thing, because I used to do custom baling for a guy and I'd use his twine, and he always got I can't remember what it was. It used to be TSC's old brand before they switched to County Line. And that twine worked great. He always ran 9,000 Sissel, whatever the hell brand that twine was. And then TSC switched to County Line, and he started buying that. And that stuff, this baler, I don't know if it was just garbage twine or what, but this baler did not like that shit whatsoever. And that's what we were running last time I used it, and it kept mistying knots. And I think part of the problem was that twine, if you pulled 10 foot out of the ball and looked at it, the diameter was like this. There was no consistency to the diameter, and I think that was messing with the knotters because of the way they held the twine. And I was talking to a guy I know out in Iowa that still runs one of these, and he swears up and down about this New Holland, or well, about 7,200 twine over the 9,000. He said that's the way to go in these things. He says they run night and day difference. But I bought this 9,000 back when I was still doing that baling because I was going to try it, and then I ended up not baling again. And I got this from a deer dealer, and like I say, I could have swore it was Brazilian gold, but now I'm thinking it's something else. But anyway, because that's been in here so long, I don't trust it. I mean, it's got some mold in it now, just from sitting, so I'm not gonna run that. And when I used to help the neighbor do all of his baling, he always bought New Holland. He ran New Holland balers, and he always bought New Holland twine. And never had a lick issue till he quit going, or till he quit having or buying New Holland twine and started buying TSC twine. So that being said, I was doing some research because rumor had it that New Holland quit making their own twine or quit having it made, and everything on the internet said that they didn't have their own twine anymore. So I finally called down to the New Holland dealer, and he says, yeah, we still got it. So I guess we'll find out if it's actually New Holland twine when I get the outer wrapper off. But I'm hoping that, I mean, New Holland, they're the baler people. I'd like to think that even if they're having somebody else make it for them and they're just packaging it, that, you know, being New Holland, they would have a little bit of quality control to it of their own standard. But, you know, since New Holland went Fiat, you never know. Come on. Damn it. Normally you gotta pull the string from a certain side. I'm used to it on seed bags. Definitely not that side. It's gotta come from this side. Oh, this is a struggle. Well, what the hell? Well, you know what? Screw it. It's getting open with my knife. my dull, it really needs to be sharpened and nice. I wasn't too excited about this stuff being green over orange either, because I never remember anybody having very good luck with green twine. But is what it is. It's supposed to be more mouse resistant anyhow, so. It's definitely, well, I'll pull a bale out of here. Cut this shit off because I'm not going to use it. I do have another 2 more balls of 9,000 down in the barn that I'm going to tie into this 7200, because I didn't want to buy 4 bales of 7200 and have it not work. So I was going to buy 2, run it, and then if it worked out, I was going to just get rid of the 9,000 altogether. Definitely a little bit, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but there's definitely a little bit of a difference there in diameter. And if you look at, like, I found, where the hell the guy found it, I don't know, but back when I was having issues with this, I was dinking around on eBay one day, and there was a guy that found, somehow, some way, a package of brand new New Holland Baler twine from, judging by the script on the bag, like the 50s or 60s, because it was the old block letter New Holland, or it was before Sperry, it just said New Holland. And I mean, that stuff looked like fucking rope. It was huge. And that's the kind of twine that these balers, that was what they were designed to run. So I figured bigger twine should work better in the knotters, which is between what I was thinking and what the guy I know out in Iowa was telling me. Hopefully this works. They can't be any worse. But I know it's not the knotters, because when I was having these issues, I went through and made every, or double checked, triple checked every adjustment on these things. And A, this baler has no hours on it, and B, there's everything on those knotters is right. They're adjusted, they're tight, they're perfect. They should make a knot. So unfortunately with a baler, you never know until you go bale with it. So anyhow, slap these guys in here. And get it re-threaded up to the knotters. So as it would turn out, where did I put the, did I throw the bag away? I must have thrown the bag away. This is Brazilian gold. And as it turns out, apparently I did buy 7,200. I thought I bought more 9,000. So technically they're the same size, although looking at them next to each other, I still think that New Holland twine is a little bit bigger. But anyway, I still didn't trust that twine just because it's been in this box for so long. So I was going to need 2 more bales regardless. And this will be a good test, because I think this green will get me through what I need to do. But if not, I can get into this yellow and see if the New Holland versus which one actually works. Although the New Holland wasn't all that, I was expecting it to be more. That New Holland was only 49 bucks for a pair. So New Holland wasn't all that expensive, honestly. But I threaded it all through. You go through this ferrule, and then up around the knotter frame, through that ferrule, through the front of the needle, and then down, and you tie it off to the knotter frame, or not the knotter frame, the needle frame. And then I'll set you here. You trip the knotter, roll her over by hand. Okay, Y. What am I hooking on? Interesting. I really don't know what I'm hooking on. Because shouldn't be out of time. It was fine when I used it last. I had a dumbass moment because it's been so long since I had this baler out. I forgot. When you got this thing swung over into transport mode, the plunger arm comes around and smacks on top of the drawbar, so you can't make full revolution. So I gotta swing this thing out into field position, and then, yeah. Whoops, I forgot. Okay, try this again without scaring the shit out of myself. Why aren't the knotters tripping? Keep going, I guess. Oh. Might have to shoot some oil on that. Well, everything seems great. Interesting. There we go. Now keep going. Did we make a knot? Well, we probably didn't make a knot, but did we get hooked up into the twine discs? And it'll even tell you right in the book, when you do this by hand, not everything works exactly like it should because you're not running PTO speed. So you check your bill hooks to make sure it stripped the knot. You see, that one did and that one didn't, so you just go in there. Come on. Come on. Let go. There you go. And you get that knot off of there. And make sure you're hooked into your twine discs, which it is. And get the little nubbins out of there that I cut out from that other twine. And then once you're in there, that one made a knot. That other one obviously made a knot. So then you just come down here and the important part is it made a knot and it cut the twine, which if it'll cut the twine rolling over by hand, it ought to cut the twine while you're at baling speed, or while you're at PTO speed. But get your excess pieces off of here, and wham bam, thank you Sam, you threaded yourself a baler. Well, time to see if she still runs. No funny noises, that's always a good sign. I'm thinking one of these days I'm probably going to be into pulling that plunger and doing the slides in it. But why is there a kernel of corn in there? Maybe that's why that tensioner wasn't on there. The belt ride's funny. I also am not 100% convinced that that's the right belt either. It seems a tad bit short, but I could be wrong. But I think we're going to leave it like that for now. But while it's running, go ahead and oil the chains. Oh, that's about out. I think there's some more in that box. Yep, that can's about had it. That's all she wrote. Anyway, go through and oil the chains, and I think that's about all I got to do to it, really. Well, that ought to about do her. Don't really know. Like I say, there wasn't really anything wrong with it when I parked it, other than it didn't want to tie knots, because I'm 95% sure that that twine that that guy was buying, or that guy was baling for, was junk. So unfortunately, the thing about a hay baler, unless you got hay to stuff through it, you don't know until it's too late. But I think we're gonna be all right. Like I say, them knotters, I've been over them multiple times. The knotters should be good. I can't find anything wrong with any of the adjustment on them. I think it was just that junk ass twine. So like I say, we will see. But outside of that, she should be ready to rock and roll. And before anybody makes the comment about the pitman arm being able to come around, or the plunger arm being able to come around and smack the drawbar, well, being a hazard of breaking something, well, it would be if the PTO shaft would reach while the baler was in transport mode, but it won't, so it can't. You physically have to have this thing swung over into field mode before you can get the PTO shaft hooked up, which I'm sure was by design, because this has got the short PTO shaft. On the later 60T, I don't know if it was on the later 60Ts or on the 62T. Well, it doesn't have to be the T, because there's a 60W and a 62W too, and those were the wire balers. So we'll just go with, I don't know if it was on the later 60 or on the 62, they had the option to get the longer tongue with the midship bearing and the two-piece PTO shaft. But this one obviously doesn't have that. And to tell you the God honest truth, I've run balers both ways. The neighbor's New Hollands had the long tongues with the midship bearings. You can cut a lot tighter corner with this short shaft. I can almost make a 90-degree turn and this PTO shaft won't hammer, which is odd because I figured it'd be the other way around. Being a short PTO, I figured it'd hammer like a son of a bitch if you tried to make a short turn. But like when I was baling with my 66 is the only one I can do it with because it's the only one narrow enough. But I could take my 66 and bring the rear tire right around to here, cutting a corner, and that PTO shaft won't hammer. So personally, as far as maneuverability goes, I like that short shaft better than the long shaft, but that's just me. The downside to it is you got to be careful on a tractor with a 3-point because the arms get in the way. So that's the downside to it. But, and the other upside is you've only got 2 universals to worry about instead of 3 or 4, depending on how the company did the midship bearing. But anyhow, like I say, I really don't know what else to do or talk about. I gotta check the tire air in that tire. I just put new tires on this thing this spring, so that one's squatting a little bit, but it's also kind of a tiny tire, so that's understandable. But I put the tires back on it that the book called for, so it's right. I just had, well, I had it, this tire blew when I pulled it out of the barn when I got it, and the other tire was good-ish. It was black and it was round and it held air. That's about all you can say about it. But I put that one over here, and then I had a different 15-inch rim with a truck tire on it over there. It made the baler set funny, and I also didn't like the way it looked. So I finally broke down and put new tires on it that are the right size. So anyway, I'll quit rambling. So I guess that's it for this one, and we'll catch that. Also, that's not what I'm baling with. I just went over and got it with that because that's faster on the road. I'm probably going to pull the baler with the 1800 because that thing in front of this baler is just about perfect. So anyway, with that out of the way, that's it for this one. We'll catch y'all on the next one.